after 9 weeks on the wild autumn Atlantic, land is overdue. They were traveling at 2 miles an hour, by the way. When they finally spotted the land, you can imagine the relief that must have come over them. But as they're looking at the land, they go, this is not Virginia where we're commissioned to go. And that's where Jamestown had been planted. They're going to go to Virginia. You know, fertile land. It's a great place to start a colony. Well, that's not Virginia. We got to head due south. So they head south, but now they are approaching the most deadly and dangerous waters of the New England Atlantic with deadly shoals that if the breakers cast the ship upon these shoals, I mean, it's certain death and doom for all. So the ship captain, the worldly ship captain, says to the pilgrims, pray as you've never prayed before. So this is the biggest crisis. They're there, they've arrived, but this is the most dangerous moment of the entire voyage. And a miraculous wind from the south pulls them out of the shoals into deep water again to safety. Do you think they are grateful at that moment? They interpret this as God telling them, stay put here. So this was 1620. Their arrival in Provincetown Harbor. They anchor there, and they fall to their knees and thank the God of heaven. But since it's not Virginia, there are some schemers aboard who are saying, well, our contract then doesn't apply because what we made our agreement on in England was to go to Virginia. So we're not bound by your authority, and a mutiny begins aboard the ship. And this is what leads to the famous document, which you probably all heard about in elementary school, the Mayflower Compact. Now I'm going to hit pause on that and come back to that one tomorrow morning when we're talking about the American founding documents. But this was huge. This was historic, the Mayflower Compact. I just got to leave you in suspense till tomorrow. We'll just resume the story. But I would call that a providential arrival in Provincetown Harbor in 1620. Because did you remember the year 1617? Told you we were going to come back to that. We're coming back to it right now. It turns out that this area of the New England coast was one of the safest places on the entire eastern seaboard as far as Native American tribes go. 3 years prior to 1620, at their arrival, in 1617, the warlike tribe, the Patuxets of New England, were decimated by a plague. Now, did God know exactly where and when the earth would be made available? It would become more sparsely populated. And impress upon those pilgrims that at the same time, their prayer, their vote, their listening to William Bradford inspire them with hope and courage. And they said the divine hand was pointing them across the ocean to a place where they might form for themselves a state and leave the precious heritage of liberty to their children. You remember the quote from the Great Controversy. This was God's timing. 1617 was the exact year that it became much more like the earth, much more sparsely populated. I find that to not be a coincidence that God impressed them right at the moment, right in the year, and they needed to take some time also to get the preparations ready. They finally made it out of there in 1620. Now, that south wind came, and God put them there because, first of all, the hostile Indian tribe is gone, so you're going to be much more safe. That tribe, before they had tragically and sadly been decimated by that plague, they had cleared the land. So now you've got cleared land ready to start a colony. And other Indian tribes that are in New England view that land as like accursed. And the plague could emerge there again. So they had kept their distance. So there's a place for them now. Oh, and the predominant neighboring Indian tribe, the Wampanoags, which we're going to talk about in just a second, were super friendly, very friendly people. More on them in just a bit. But, okay, when you see the land and you're anchored off, what's your first thought? Can I get my feet on some land, please? So they take the longboat to shore, and the men go ashore to try to find water, to try to find wood. They find some juniper for the cook's fire, and they find a spring of sweet water. God's providing for them. What are you thinking if you're a mother at this point and your children have been wearing the same dirty clothes for the last 9 weeks? They go ashore and they do some washing. Man, that's amazing. Like I go on the road sometimes with my family to do ministry, and we're in the RV, and we got to, before the week is over, we feel like we got to do the laundry. They went 9 weeks. That's quite something for those dirty little kiddos, man. Now, their hired soldier was named Miles Standish. They brought him along as a captain for defense, and he takes the pilgrims to explore the lay of the land. Now, at that moment, we might have some preconditioning on how we view history and stuff, and we go, oh, this is, colonial conquest. Here goes the military guy, and they're going to go, we're misunderstanding the pilgrims. There were groups, certainly, that did that. But the pilgrims are not conquistadores. The pilgrims are not Cortez. The pilgrims are not British or French imperialists. They're going ashore not with smallpox-infected blankets, but they're going ashore to explore the land and eventually, as you'll see, make some good friends.